This is DRF Race of the Day. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer. The DRF Race of the Day for Thursday, November the 18th, is race number 7 at Aqueduct. Let's throw up the field for a New York-bred optional claimer going 3/4 of a mile on the outer turf. You can play this race with your DRF Bets account, and you can download free past performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access them, handicap along with us. This is a pretty competitive group, Mike, and it might come down to pace and trip.
Yeah, I think a few different horses could win here. You can tell by the morning line there, Dan. As far as the turf horses are entered go anyway, 3 of them, very similar prices. Will, I guess, vie for favoritism. I don't really know how they're going to bet it here, but it is a wide open race.
A horse returning off of a long layoff is projected to be the pace setter from our friends at Timeform US. Let's take a look at that pace projector. Freewheeler has shown good speed in the past. He has been away about 10 months. He's back with Michael Maker, but I would think he has to show speed in here. Valmont has shown some speed in the past. Dancing Buck might be able to stay relatively close as well.
I thought so. I mean, they have Dancing Buck pretty far back there on the pace projector. I suspect he'll be closer than that. He's the number 5. I mean, Freewheeler, he's got speed. The last time he won a race, September of 2020 at Valmont, going this distance, he did wire the field that day, but that was a pretty soft pace, Dan. I mean, it's not like he was flying on the front end there. He's got speed. I guess he could make the front in here. I'm, mildly concerned that he could wire this field, but I would want a little bit of a price.
The number 1 Alfalfa has come from mid-pack in his 2 starts for trainer Charlie Baker, including a 4th place effort last time out, a race in which he finished behind Dancing Buck. This is a horse that you could argue might have been compromised by a lack of pace in that race. I wonder if he has sort of found his plateau in the low 80s from a buyer standpoint. The buyer par for this race is an 87. He must improve.
Yeah, I wonder about that too. I wonder if he has any more improvement in him. I do like his 2 races since Charlie Baker took over. I thought he ran fine both times. As you mentioned, that last race, the pace really wasn't very fast. So maybe that's enough of an excuse, Dan. Overall, this horse got a very good trip. He saved ground off the pace. He had plenty of room in the stretch, and he rallied without, really making any kind of an impact to just miss 3rd. Maybe he was pace compromised and can do better. And he will be a price if you like him.
Although it took almost 2 years for the 2 Steelers fan for life to get through his first level New York bred condition, I think this horse is eligible to improve on Thursday. It'll be his 2nd start off of a very lengthy layoff, and he tried to come from too far out of it in that slow-paced race last time out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll use this horse again at a price. I actually bet him last time, knowing it was a pretty tough spot for him. Obviously, the race didn't set up well for him at all. He was blocked all through the upper stretch as well, and it took him a long time to actually get clear in that race. I'll use him again. I'm a fan of this horse. I don't know that I necessarily love him cutting back another furlong, Dan. It feels to me like 7's probably a better distance for him than 6 is. But we already talked about that Freewheeler race from last September over this distance. This horse ran very well that day. That pace was not fast, and he was making up ground.
Mike, tell me that I'm making too many excuses now for the 3 Swashbuckle. I really liked his seasonal debut going 7/8 of a mile. He was very game to win that race, dug down deep in the stretch to beat back the runner-up War Terminator. A 3 back at Saratoga when he was beaten by Shiraz. He didn't break very well on yielding going, kind of in behind horses in upper stretch, and didn't find his best footing until late. I'm not really interested in the Allied Forces 2 back. That was too tough a spot. And last time out, he was uncovered chasing the slow pace. I wish he ran a little better last time out, but I'm trying to make excuses because it'll be a price.
Dan, you're making too many excuses for Swashbuckle in this race. I don't know. I'm not, I don't personally like him in here, but I wouldn't be way against him. I don't think, especially as if you say he's going to be an okay price. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I thought his return from the layoff was okay. I don't really like that horse that he beat, War Terminator. But he still, ran a decent race that day. I just don't like any of his races since then. And I get it, on the outside all the way last time when the pace wasn't fast. I personally didn't think he had any kind of an excuse there. Did not like the way he finished. Maybe cutting back to 6 helps him. I don't know if he's going to be a price. I won't argue too hard, but I'm not betting him.
I find it interesting that they haven't stretched him out since his very successful debut, a race where he ran so well as a 2-year-old last year. Phantom Smoke is the number 4 lightly raced son of Ghost Sapper. Let's watch his win last time out, going 3/4 of a mile at Belmont. You'll see he's in and among horses, turning into the stretch. The trip's going to work out. He's going to ease to the outside. He's still a little bit green, as you'll see. He'll flop leads a couple of times in the final 16th of a mile, but this horse is all upside, Mike, and he has tactical speed. This is a pretty big step up in class, though.
It is. So I'll just want to wait and see what kind of price he is. I still think this horse is pretty talented, though. I like his debut. I like this performance too, Dan. I don't think it was a great 1X field. I just like the way that he won the race. Yes, the trip worked out, but you saw there, by the time he finally got clear, all the closers were sort of surrounding him and right on top of him. He kicked away from those sources. He gunned down the leaders as well. I liked that performance last time. I think in some ways he could be the horse to beat. I just don't know if I want to bet him at a short price, and I think he's going to be short.
Now, Dancing Buck has winning experience over course and trip. He won over the spring, an allowance race, a first level allowance race at Aqueduct, and he ran well last time out, going 7/8, a distance that might be a little bit far for him. Let's watch that race where he finished ahead of 3 of these common rivals. Now, this was the race where the pace wasn't very fast, and Dancing Buck, as you see, is on the lead turning into the stretch, but he runs on well to be second. Again, I like him cutting back to 6. I think that's the bullseye for him, and as you and I mentioned in the pace projector, I think he can be a little closer to the pace.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you too about the distance, Dan. It may not seem like a big deal just cutting back a furlong. I really don't think this horse wants any part of 7 furlongs. So even though he didn't really have an excuse last time in a pace-dominated race, I just don't think he wants to go that far. I like him cutting back to 6. I think all 3 of his 6 furlong races are pretty good, and I do think he's going to be forward in here.
Freewheeler should show speed. He's returning off that 10-month layoff. He's now with Michael Maker after campaigning for Todd Pletcher earlier in his career, and he ran into some good horses. He was graded stakes placed at 2 behind Four Wheel Drive, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint that year. His last start at Gulfstream against Open Company, the winner of that race was in very good form. He came back to run 3rd in an allowance with an 86, 2nd in the Silks Run Stakes with an 87 buyer. He has races fast enough to win. I have a feeling he's going to take money in this race, and off the layoff, I'm not sure I want too short a price.
Yeah, I don't want a short price on him either. And listen, this is a horse who at one point looked like he might be pretty good. If you remember his career debut, I mean, he had to go back over 2 years for that race, but he looked good winning that day. I don't know that he ever necessarily got much better than that, Dan. And we already talked about his only win last year where they just kind of handed the race to him. Maybe they'll do it again here. I didn't want a short price on him. I think it's also interesting if you look up Maker's numbers because you kind of feel like this could be an okay trainer change. And Maker really does not have good numbers off of trainer changes on turf, especially in New York. You can look that number up. It's not good.
Shiraz, the number 7, has lots of 2nd and 3rds on his resume, but it's worth noting he's already won this condition. That's why he's in for the $45,000 tag, and he's been in against some tough open entry-level allowance horses in his last few races. Last time out, the winner of that race just completely controlled a slow pace. Shiraz got a decent trip. He just couldn't kick on with that horse in the stretch, and that horse came back to run 3rd in an open $80,000 race with an 89 buyer.
That was a way tougher race last time. And you're right, his trip was fine. He just wasn't good enough to go with those horses. Go back and watch his race 2 back as well, where he just got a ridiculous ride from Manny Franco. Actually broke to the lead in there. The pace wasn't fast, and they ripped him off it, conceded it to Bally Dooley, a big long shot, who wired the field. So I'll give him a pass for that race 2 back as well. He's got plenty of figures that make him tough in here. He's got tactical speed. He doesn't win very often, Dan, but I could use this horse at the right price.
I think Valmont's going to show more speed than he did most recently. Maybe the 5/8 at the Meadowlands was a bit too sharp for him to strut his early stuff, but he showed a little bit of a kick in the stretch. Let's watch Valmont. This is an entry-level one other than race, and he's saving ground in behind the lead. He's just not going to be able to get to this easy winner who was odds on. Valmont ran fine the race before at Belmont at this level. He showed speed going 3/4 of a mile here at a respectable 83 buyer, and he's going to be a playable price.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I think he is going to show speed again in here. The horse that won this race here at the Meadowlands is a really good horse, and Valmont had no chance to go with him. 2 back, they got more aggressive with him. They put him on the lead. I thought he did his very best with that trip. He wasn't good enough, but he did his best with it. And I guess if he runs a race like that, he could contend here.
The 9 is On the Couch, and this is a lightly raced 4-year-old coming off of a June layoff. He has won over course and distance, rallying from off the pace. To me, he's one of those kind of horses, though, that needs the right setup, needs the right trip. He was in a tough two other than last time out against Noble Emotion, a race where Valmont finished ahead of him, and the race off the layoff, I'm willing to give 2 starts back. So maybe he's dirtied up, but he has to deal with another layoff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that stuff. I mean, he is a horse who you maybe could project some improvement for. Only 2 starts so far this year before he had to take another layoff. He didn't run well first time out, but maybe you want to give him a pass for that when he got wired last time at a big price. I don't know how good he is, Dan, but he should be a big price once again.
I guess you could forgive Gandhi Dancing, the number 10's lone turf start to date, because it came over yielding going, and maybe he just didn't handle it. I don't love his turf pedigree, however, and his claim was voided by the vet last time out. Blinkers on, maybe we'll see a little bit more speed, but even at a big price, it's a wait and see approach for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could maybe be lenient on him for that one turf start at Saratoga because of the yielding ground, but he really didn't run well. I actually thought he was interested in that race. He's a flatter, which doesn't really work for turf. I thought there was plenty of turf on the bottom of this pedigree, Dan, but he gets harder to take now because he's already run on this surface once and it wasn't good.
Bronx Bombers entered main track only, so we'll conclude with the 11, Outrageous Bet, a horse that is cutting all the way back in distance. But it's interesting to note that he is very comfortable sprinting, or was earlier in his career. Ever since Pat Reynolds claimed him, he has concentrated on running this horse long. Maybe turning back in distance is what the doctor ordered, although you have to be concerned he'll be outrun in the early portion of this race and have to pass a lot of horses.
Yeah, you feel like he's going to need some help up front, but maybe he'll get it in here. If I mean, you can't really count on that stuff in New York, but maybe somebody will get aggressive in here. His recent form is actually really good. He's racing in very good form right now, and as you've already pointed out, this horse can sprint on the grass. He's got plenty of back races that would give him a chance in here. He's interesting if he's a big price.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Thursday race of the day. Dancing Buck, the 5, in good form, cutting back in distance with the tactical speed to work out his trip, Mike.
That's what I thought, Dan. I mean, I don't love this horse in here. I just didn't think he was going to be the favorite, and I like him cutting back in this race.
Maybe I have given Swashbuckle way too many excuses. I'm hoping I don't have to give him one more because I'm hoping he wins. He's going to be a good price in here. I think he can be a little bit closer to the pace. He has run 1 or 2 good races, so I'm counting on him to run back to his good one for Christophe Clement. 5-7-4-2 for Mike, 3-5-4-11 for me. Wide open Thursday race of the day, the 7th at the Big A. Play it with your DRF Bets account. Best of luck.